The message from beyond. The stars had always been distant and silent, unreachable points of light in Earth's night sky. Humanity had gazed upward for thousands of years, wondering if they were alone in the vast emptiness of space. The answer came on a Tuesday morning when every screen on Earth flickered and went dark for exactly 3 seconds. When the displays returned, they showed the same image, a symbol humanity had never seen before, geometric and cold, hovering against the backdrop of distant galaxies. The arrival. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the control room of the Global Communications Hub in Geneva, watching as her team scrambled to understand what had just happened. Every satellite, every communication system, every digital device on the planet had been hijacked simultaneously. The technical impossibility of such an action was not lost on her. Whatever had sent this message possessed technology far beyond anything humanity had ever conceived. The symbol remained on screens worldwide for 10 minutes before it was replaced by text. Not in English, not in Chinese, not in any human language, yet somehow every person who looked at it understood its meaning perfectly. The message was simple and terrifying: prepare tribute. Compliance expected. Refusal means extinction. The entity calling itself the Dominion Collective made its intentions clear. Earth had been chosen for incorporation into their vast network of controlled worlds. Humanity would provide resources, technology, and labor. In return, they would be allowed to exist under Dominion rule. The deadline was 30 Earth days. The global response. President Maria Torres sat in the emergency session of the United World Council, looking at the faces of leaders from every nation. The room buzzed with arguments, fear, and disbelief. Some advocated immediate compliance. Others demanded defiance. A few questioned whether the message was even real or perhaps an elaborate hoax. Commander James Okonkwo of the United Defense Forces stood to address the council. His voice was calm but carried the weight of someone who understood the gravity of their situation. He had spent 20 years preparing Earth's defenses against theoretical threats. Now that threat had materialized, and it was far worse than any simulation had predicted. We have analyzed the signal source, he explained. The transmission came from multiple points simultaneously, including locations inside our solar system where our sensors detect nothing. Whatever technology allowed this exists on a level we cannot currently comprehend. However, that does not mean we are helpless. The room fell silent as he continued. For 15 years, the Artemis project has been developing advanced propulsion systems, energy weapons, and defensive technologies in secret orbital facilities. The project was designed as a contingency against exactly this kind of scenario. We have assets the Dominion Collective knows nothing about. The Hidden Fleet. Dr. Lin Wei had devoted her entire adult life to the Artemis project. Deep in the orbital construction yards hidden on the far side of the moon, she walked through the hangar bay containing humanity's secret fleet. The ships were unlike anything in public knowledge, sleek vessels built with experimental quantum drives, armed with directed energy weapons that could tear through conventional armor, and equipped with stealth systems that bent light and radiation around their hulls. There were only 47 ships, each crewed by a team of 30 highly trained personnel. Against an interstellar empire, these numbers seemed laughably inadequate. But Dr. Wei knew something the Dominion Collective did not: humanity's greatest weapon had never been raw power but adaptability and innovation. The lead vessel was named Defiance, commanded by Captain Alexandra Reeves. Captain Reeves had been handpicked for her unconventional thinking and her refusal to accept defeat. She stood on the bridge of her ship, reviewing tactical data with her crew. They had been training for this moment for years, running simulations against superior forces, learning to think 3 steps ahead of any opponent. They expect us to be primitive, she told her crew during their final briefing before launch. They expect us to be afraid. They expect us to surrender. We are going to prove them catastrophically wrong about all 3 assumptions. The countdown. As the days ticked down toward the deadline, Earth transformed. Every industrial facility on the planet shifted to war production. Scientists who had spent their careers in isolation suddenly found their theoretical research being applied to weapons and defensive systems. The public, initially paralyzed by fear, began to rally around a simple truth: humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. They would survive this too. The Dominion Collective sent another message on day 15, this time showing images of other worlds that had refused compliance. Burned planets, shattered cities, populations reduced to scattered survivors. The message was clear: resistance was futile. Earth's leaders watched these images and felt the weight of billions of lives resting on their decisions. But something unexpected happened. Instead of breaking humanity's spirit, the images strengthened their resolve. Every person on Earth saw those destroyed worlds and made a choice. They would not kneel. They would not surrender. If the Dominion Collective wanted Earth, they would have to take it, and humanity would make them pay dearly for every inch. The final preparation. On day 28, the Artemis fleet completed its final systems checks. The crews said goodbye to families they might never see again. Engineers made last-minute adjustments to weapons that had never been tested in actual combat. And Commander Okonkwo uploaded the final tactical plans to every ship's computer. The strategy was audacious and desperate in equal measure. Earth's fleet could not win a direct confrontation, so they would not fight one. Instead, they would use hit-and-run tactics, striking from unexpected angles, exploiting the vast emptiness of space to disappear before the enemy could respond. They would be ghosts, shadows, a threat that could not be pinned down or eliminated. Dr. Chen made one final broadcast to Earth before communications went dark. Her message was simple: we stand together. We fight together. And no matter what comes, we face it as one humanity, one world, one voice. To whatever force believes they can break us, we have only this to say: come and try. As day 30 dawned, sensors across Earth's defense network detected massive distortions in space beyond the orbit of Neptune. The Dominion Collective was arriving, and they were bringing an armada. First contact, first blood. The distortions in space grew stronger, reality itself seeming to ripple and tear as the Dominion fleet emerged from whatever dimension they traveled through. Earth's long-range sensors struggled to count the vessels, hundreds, perhaps thousands of ships of varying sizes, from small patrol craft to massive dreadnoughts the size of small moons. The fleet arranged itself in a perfect geometric formation, a display of military precision that spoke of countless conquered worlds. The enemy reveals itself. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Reeves watched the tactical display with studied calm. Her crew, hand-picked veterans all, maintained their positions with the discipline of warriors who knew the stakes. The Dominion fleet had positioned itself near Jupiter, using the planet's gravity well as a strategic anchor point. It was a standard military approach, one that revealed something crucial: despite their technological superiority, the Dominion still thought in conventional terms. A transmission came through on all frequencies, audio and visual this time. The being that appeared on screen was humanoid in basic structure but clearly alien. Its skin had a crystalline quality that shifted between blue and violet, and its eyes were entirely black with no visible pupils. When it spoke, the words again translated themselves directly into understanding within every human mind that heard them. I am Nexus Prime Valtor of the Dominion Collective. Your time for compliance has expired. Surrender your world's resources and submit to collective authority. You will be assigned work quotas and production targets. Your technological development will be monitored and controlled. Resistance will be met with complete annihilation. You have 1 Earth hour to respond. President Torres stood in a command center deep beneath Geneva, surrounded by military advisors and world leaders connected via secure channels. Every person in that room knew what the response would be, but the weight of speaking it aloud was immense. She took a breath and activated the transmission system. Nexus Prime Valtor, I am President Maria Torres, speaking for the people of Earth and all humanity. We have considered your demands. Our answer is no. Earth is not yours to claim. Our freedom is not yours to take. If you want our world, you will have to fight for it. And I promise you, that fight will cost you more than you can imagine. There was a pause. On the screens, Volter's expression shifted into something that might have been surprise or perhaps contempt. Your defiance is noted. Your extinction begins now. The first strike. The Dominion fleet began moving toward Earth, their formation precise and overwhelming. But they were not prepared for what happened next. From the darkness of space between Mars and Jupiter, 47 ships appeared from nowhere, their stealth systems deactivating only long enough to fire. The Artemis fleet had positioned itself days before, drifting in the cold vacuum with all systems powered down to minimal levels, waiting in perfect silence. Now they came alive with fury. Directed energy beams lanced through space, targeting not the massive dreadnoughts but the smaller command vessels coordinating the fleet's movements. 3 Dominion ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light before the fleet could even respond. The Artemis vessels immediately activated their quantum drives, moving at velocities that should have been impossible, appearing to teleport short distances as they jumped through folded space. They struck again from a different angle, destroying 2 more enemy vessels before vanishing once more. Nexus Prime Valtor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching in shock as his fleet scrambled to respond to an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. His tactical officers shouted reports, trying to track vessels that defied their sensors and moved in ways their computers could not predict. These primitives have quantum drive technology, he demanded. How is this possible? Our intelligence indicated they barely achieved basic fusion propulsion. Captain Reeves smiled grimly as the Defiance emerged from another quantum jump, her weapon systems already charging for the next strike. Hit them again, she ordered. Target their sensor arrays. Make them blind. Adaptation and evolution. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Artemis fleet used every trick they had developed in years of training. They hid in Jupiter's radiation belts, using the interference to mask their signatures. They positioned themselves behind asteroids and fired through gaps in the debris. They coordinated their strikes with split-second timing, appearing from multiple directions simultaneously to overwhelm local defenses. But the Dominion Collective had not conquered hundreds of worlds by being slow to adapt. After the initial shock, their commanders began implementing countermeasures. They deployed swarms of autonomous drones that filled space with sensor nets, making it harder for the human ships to hide. They adjusted their fleet formations, spreading out to prevent concentrated attacks. And they brought their massive dreadnoughts to bear, vessels with enough firepower to vaporize an Artemis ship with a single shot. The Defiance took a glancing hit that sent alarms screaming through the ship. Captain Reeves felt the deck shudder beneath her feet as the starboard shield generators failed. Damage reports flooded in, 2 crew members injured, multiple systems offline, hull integrity at 70%. Quantum drive is still functional, her tactical officer reported. But we can't take another hit like that. Reeves looked at the tactical display, calculating angles and probabilities with the speed of someone who had done this 1,000 times in simulation. Then we don't get hit again. Helm, coordinate with Vanguard and Resolute. Pattern Delta 7. Let's show them what desperate humans can do. The cost of war. Not all of Earth's ships were as fortunate as Defiance. The Horizon took a direct hit from a dreadnought's main cannon and disintegrated instantly, 30 souls lost in a fraction of a second. The Pathfinder survived 3 hits before its power core ruptured, giving the crew just enough time to evacuate in escape pods before the ship tore itself apart. On Earth, billions watched through military feeds as their defenders fought and died in the darkness of space. There were no cheers, no celebrations. People gathered in homes, in public squares, in places of worship, watching their species fight for survival against odds that should have been insurmountable. Dr. Chen monitored the battle from the command center, her hands gripping the edge of her console so tightly her knuckles were white. Every ship lost was a knife to her heart. These were people she had trained with, worked alongside, shared meals and stories with during the long years of the Artemis project. Now they were dying light years from home, buying time for a planet that might still fall despite their sacrifice. But something remarkable was happening. The Dominion fleet, which should have swept aside Earth's defenders in minutes, had been fighting for hours and still had not broken through. Every time they thought they had established control, the human ships would appear from impossible angles, striking with precision that spoke of intimate knowledge of their own weaknesses and absolute commitment to exploiting them. Nexus Prime Valtor watched his casualty reports climb and felt something he had not experienced in centuries: doubt. These humans should have been crushed by now. Instead, they fought with a ferocity and creativity that defied all tactical predictions. Every standard response his fleet employed was countered by some unexpected maneuver. It was as if the humans could read his mind. What he did not know was that Earth's quantum computers had been analyzing Dominion battle tactics for weeks, ever since the first message arrived. Dr. Wei and her team had studied every pattern, every formation, every strategic choice, building predictive models that allowed the Artemis fleet to stay one step ahead. Humanity had turned its greatest strength, the ability to learn and adapt, into a weapon. As the battle entered its 7th hour, Captain Reeves transmitted on the secure channel connecting all remaining Artemis vessels. 39 ships remained operational, battered but unbroken. All units, this is defiance. We've bloodied them. We've shown them we're not prey. Now we show them we're predators. Execute Plan Prometheus. In the command center on Earth, Commander Okonkwo allowed himself the smallest of smiles. Plan Prometheus was the most audacious strategy they had developed, the one they had hoped never to use because it required every ship to take enormous risks simultaneously. But if it worked, it would change everything. The remaining human ships began moving in perfect coordination, quantum jumping in a complex pattern that brought them into a sphere surrounding the Dominion flagship. Nexus Prime Valtor realized the trap 1 second too late. Every Artemis vessel fired simultaneously, their directed energy beams converging on a single point, the flagship's main power core. The explosion lit up the darkness of space like a newborn star.